before I start my presentation today, I would like to share with you about my story and how, uh, as a mom, I basically overcome my situations and how I can help other people. So, enjoy. My life took a different turn when I discovered that two of my children had special needs. Noel, my eldest child, lost his language and stopped speaking at 2.5 years old. He had very poor focus and attention. He did not understand special expressions and social cues. He had a lot of struggles in day to day situations. Joshua, my second child, had a very severe autism. He did not respond to his name. He did not have eye contact. He did not understand our words or who we were. When we tested him, we found out that his IQ was less than 30. As a mother, I was heartbroken, but this was what made me stronger. I decided to do something about it so they can have the future they deserve. I tried every means I could find. This therapy and that therapy, which doesn't work. I need to do something. Then I went around the world to look for an answer. With the support of my family, I embarked on a journey that spanned over 10 years and 3 continents on how to help them. From countries to countries, from hospitals to clinics to research laboratories. And I found pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, one piece at a time. After traveling to many countries, reading hundreds of studies, and learning from the many experts, I discovered the answer. It wasn't any drug. It is nutrition. Yes, what they take in can change their life around. Nutrition that can put out the fire in the brain, and nutrition that can build back the brain. I am not talking about food, even though they are very important. I'm talking about very specific nutrients and supplements. I also found out that drilling method doesn't work. You need understanding and patience. The right kind of attitude can help them with the healing of their brain. Many times, parents are in denial of their children's condition. They might have a lot of fear, embarrassment, or anxiety. With a change of mindset, parents can motivate their children to want to be better. When parents change, children will change. That's how we can help our children to regain their awareness, to give them their speech, to connect them with their loved ones and the world around them. Now my kids are recovering. Now my second son knows who we are. He has memory and he can study. He is able to go places and he is connected. My eldest child is now completely normal.
It's not normal.
He would say, bye-bye, autism. Whether they have autism or not, every child has the potential to achieve great things, and they have the right to try. The healing process is not short. It might be long and tedious, but it is rewarding and it is meaningful. I am Dr. Tepi Mamahit, and I'm happy to be your partner in your child's healing journey. So it brings us to this moment where we actually will learn how we can help our children, our special need children. So there are some conditions that hinders our kids. And two of the biggest one that I can think of is social anxiety, and the other one is autism spectrum disorder. And as the saying goes that if you see one child with the spectrum, you only see one child with the spectrum because each child is so different from one another. Okay, now we are going back to anxiety disorder. Now there are studies showing that the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that can detect negative emotions, they are actually having hyperactivity. And the amygdala is actually responsive for something that's called fight or flight response, which is the stress response of a person. And these are actually the brain structures that involves in fear and stress. And the ones that I uh, colored here is actually the area of the prefrontal cortex, this area of the brain. Then this area of the brain is also affected in those with autism spectrum disorder. And what does the prefrontal cortex do? It has the ability in abstract reasoning. It has the ability to do attentional shifting, from move from one area to another, response inhibition, processing speed, and emotional control, which is all actually very important in the science of making friends. And now we have understood that actually 35% of social anxiety is hereditary. What about autism? Even though autism is always being coined with genetic condition, 69% of people with autism spectrum has microglial activation or neuroinflammation or inflammation in the brain. I know that the term probably is a little bit difficult, but I will explain them as I explain this further. So now there are so many studies that shows that immune dysfunction plays a role in the etiology or the pathophysiology of autism spectrum disorder. And increase of the cytokines or the inflammatory responses in our body can cause focal brain inflammation. And the focal brain inflammation can lead to autism. So there are so many factors that can cause this. And I think we need another talk to really, really talk about this. I can talk about this like 3 days and 3 nights, and there is no end to this. But there is actually, if we see this graph, you will see that so many factors leads to one thing, which is brain inflammation and leads to autism. And now there are so many studies linked the low level of vitamin D in mothers. And the mothers that has a lot of stress will have low level of vitamin D. And the children that is born of mothers with low level of vitamin D will have low level of vitamin D, and this can predispose them to inflammation. And the trigger of this predisposition. So there's already many things that stack. You know, it's like Lego. You stack things, and or when you play Jenga, you pull things one after another, and then when another inflammation happen, you pull that Jenga piece that caused the whole block to fall down. So this is what happened with our kids. So what happened is that there is a cascade of immune responses that happen in the body, and this can cause the breach of the blood-brain barrier to the brain, and this can cause inflammation in the brain, and this can cause situations that's called neuroinflammation, the one that I mentioned earlier. And this neuroinflammation can happen even if the inflammation or the infection has passed away, it's already gone. The body was still having inflammation. And now there are studies that shows that even children that is already grown up, they are adult, and then we check the CSF, the fluid in their brain. Actually, what happened is that they still have inflammation. And children that never had any suppression of this inflammation or the inflammation still continues will continue showing the impact, the manifestation of autism. So this is another thing that I want to show you. One part of our immune responses in the brain is a microglia. So microglia is a soldier of the brain, is the Pac-Man of the brain. And the Pac-Man not just function for fighting, they also function to do pruning. So they are also the gardener of the brain. And if the gardener is busy fighting, they do not do their job in pruning the brain. So what happened is the brain is unpruned. And we need to bring down the inflammation of the brain so our soldier can return to his job as a gardener. So actually, the knowledge and the science of making friends started from the function of the brain. And we need to know all this previous knowledge in order for us to move forward and help our children making friends. So friendship refers to a special type of peer relationship that involves closeness and trust, mutual affection, companionship and preference, interaction over time, and reciprocity. And the thing is that we need so many of our brain functions to be able to do all these very very important things. And there is a study by Danber that shows that what is a normal person circle of friends. Usually there's 5 close friends, 15 super family, or they can be non-family members, and even close friends. They can be romantic partners, they can be non-family members. But I mean, there's this level of friends: 5 close friends, 15 super family, 5 clan, and 150 tribes. This is the average numbers. But our children have difficulty from making all these relationships. But there is a new actually data that shows that some autistic kids, even though they are appear withdrawn and solitary, it might be is their choice, but it's not necessarily. Some of them do want to make friends, and they are actually can be very very good friends. And how we can go about to motivate them and to help them to address their lack of confidence, their lack of understanding in making friends. Okay, so firstly, we need to determine whether our kids are eager to make friends, but they are unable to make the connection. When you are putting them together with other kids, do they look at them? Do they pay attention to what the children are doing? Do you see them tracing them with their eyes? Or they are happy with themselves and not bothered about making friends at all? So we need to see where our role coming in. When they are eager to make friends, then our role as parents is actually to be the role model on how to make friends. And if they're not actually interested in making friends, our role is to make them interested in making friends. So what we see about them being able to have friends or not is really just the tip of the iceberg. As my previous very heavy scientific background of what really happens in their brain, there's so many things that happens in their body that we need to pay attention to. So the health of the brain really actually has a lot to do with the function of the body. So the assimilation process, how the food comes in, the defense and the repair mechanism, which is the microglia is part of that, you know, and all the rest of the other functions of the body has a lot of things to do with the brain. There's so many complications, but I really love this matrix because this matrix really tell us what really happens. The whole body actually is such a complex, very sophisticated things that God created, and then it allows us to have converge into a great function, which is our brain. And all these things actually have 5 modifiable factors. First is sleep and relaxation. Second, exercise and movement. Third is the nutrition and hydration. Fourth is the stress and resilience. And the fifth, which is very, very important, is the relationship. So first, we talk about sleep. And sleep is actually something that us parents have a role to play, and a big role to play, because like the dough you can rise if you rest. I think some of you are bakers, you really truly understand what I mean, because the thing is that our brain needs the sleep, because the repair process, the detoxification process in the brain happens during sleep. The growth of the damaged neurons also happen when the child has necessary sleep. And I know that a lot of our children, 60% probably of these children have sleeping difficulty. And later on, if you have the chance, I would like to talk more about sleep. Second is the hydration and the nutrition. And it is not very talked about, but do you see how much that your child drinks a day? Because what actually is it's so required, and it's very necessary for them to actually um, drink enough water, because they can have fatigue, they can have actually don't have enough to go on in their functional parts of the brain if they don't have enough sleep or drink. And the brain needs a lot of nutrition. These are some of the food that are not very good for the brain. And these are actually, unfortunately, are the food that most our kids with special needs like to eat. These are wheat or gluten, they are the fast food, sweet drinks, processed meat, dairy products, sugar, processed carbohydrate, or GMO products. And three of the most evil substance for inflammation are the wheat, dairy products, and sugar. And sugar can be found in every single food that available actually nowadays. And you go to ready to make food, a lot of them put sugar as a appetizing in that food. Um, Gluten is in bread, in pasta, in pizza, in all the things that the kids like, in noodles. And dairy product especially is a biggest misconception, because we are brought to think that children needs milk to be smart or to be healthy. And then now we actually have more and more evidence showing that this can be very, very inflammatory to the brain. So there's a lot of links that shows deficiency of certain nutrition like zinc, magnesium, and other things that vitamin D and iron that link to children disability to focus, pay attention, or even making friends. And other thing that is very, very important for brain function is fat. I know that this is could be quite revolutionary for some people out there, because we are always being taught to eat lean meat. I think is that our brain is made of 60% fat. And so I really like this meme, high fatty, right? Where do you lado? Because it's so full of fat. You know how our brain function. We need enough fat. And even though our brain is only about 20%, 22% of body weight, about 20 to 30% of the calories that we consume actually goes there. It comes from fat. So we need to really think of fat and giving our kids the right amount of fat. So extra virgin coconut oil is good. Extra virgin olive oil is wonderful. Omega-3 that comes from fish oil is very, very good for the brain. So we need to also think about exercise, because exercise can help the brain to connect, can help the brain to have enough oxygen, can help to have, actually nowadays I incorporated reflex and body works in my approach with our kids, because this can help their brain to actually recover faster. And the brain benefits of exercise, it's not just to produce more neurochemical that is very important for the brain function. It improves memory, it has the lengthen of the attention span, boosts decision-making skill, it prompts growth and new nerve cell and blood vessels. It improves multitasking and planning, including making friends. And stress resilience is so important. As I said earlier about amygdala, it's so important that we actually reduce the amount of negative emotion, negative things that happens in their surrounding. So their amygdala does not actually receive this negative perception. And by actually reducing that, you are reducing the chronic stress that is in their brain. And a lot of things can be a response to the threat. One of that is actually um, schoolworks. And if we actually can identify what are the biggest stress of our kids, then we can help them to manage those stress, talk with their teachers, talk with their school about how much your children actually can can take. Then this would be something that is very, very beneficial for them. This is the very important stress response that our body has. This is the cortisol, and the stress actually have very, very important connection with the immune responses. And if we have less inflammation, we are going to have less sickness and depression. And the children that has a healthier brain actually will have more in them to make friends. So this is the very, this my, I love this very much, because this is the, any damage that is caused by the neuroinflammation can reflect on the areas of the brain. And this area of the brain, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, are one of the two most important areas of the brain that required in making friends. So how do we help our kids manage stress? We need to, if they are within the realm of understanding our conversations, we need to teach them to differentiate things that happens in their life of the things that they can control and the things they cannot control. If they can identify the things that they cannot control, we can learn, we can teach them to learn to let go of things they cannot control. What are the things that we can control actually? We cannot control other people's behavior. We cannot control whether the person wants to be your friend or not. We cannot control the reaction or the words that coming out of a person. But we can control what our reaction of the things that happens around us. So this slide itself would actually needs like a 1 day seminar or a 1 week seminar, because as an adult, we also have difficulties in recognizing these things. So we as role models of our children, we need to a role model to them how we are reacting to things that we cannot control. Then this will create resilience. Once we understand what things we can control and what things we cannot control, we can exercise our muscle for resilience. And we will be able to have the the we can bear when people not wanting to be with us, when people are behaving not the way that we want them to be. Yeah. So I want to say again that as much as I want to explain, there's such little time that I can share. So again, number 5 is his relationship. This is actually the main crux of our today's congregation meeting, because relationship is such a beautiful and a powerful thing, and that is the core of relationship is actually the one that will bring us to friendship. So parents, our biggest role in our child's life is to introduce them what is unconditional love, because this is the thing that will enable them to have the uh, same lesson, same value when they are going to be friend to someone else. So what is unconditional love? For parents, it is having no expectation, it's having no judgment. It does not worry. Wow, just not worry. It's like every one of us worry a lot. I think 60% of a mother's brain is to worry whether the child eats, whether the child sleep, whether the child do things, whether they have making friends, whether they have enough friends, whether they know how to make friends. So let's not worry about it. And conditional love means nothing. So I like this very much. I like Pooh so much, you know. Piglet asks, how do you spell love? Pooh says, you don't spell it, you feel it. So I want to teach you on how to feel it. The pre-requirement of a relationship is trust. So only when the child feels love, then they will learn to trust. I will teach you now on how you can teach a child how to trust. So this is, I like to call it the exercise of relationship muscle is the ABC. The A is acceptance. We role model to our child that they are accepted fully as they are, regardless of any condition that they have, regardless of any impediment that they have, regardless of their tantrums, regardless of their um, repetitive behavior, regardless of their asking the same question 10,000 times a day. We need to be able to show them acceptance in order for them to learn to accept the people around them. And B, seek to bond. You know, it's very easy to say seek to bond, or it's very easy to say acceptance. But when our child is not being able to do what we want, busy playing Legos or playing games or doing something that we don't like them to do, how do we seek to bond with them? Only when we actually have the first A, then we can go to the B. Because without the acceptance, it's very impossible for us to seek to bond. Because if you do not accept, like for instance, when we are going through courtship, when our husbands or our wives were our friends and they are not even our boyfriend or girlfriend, they need to first accept us. Like for instance, a girl wants to be close with a boy and the boy likes football, and she needs to understand that the boy likes football. She probably needs to know who is like the players or what are the configuration of the football game, and probably cheer the the football team together with the boy. You know what I mean? And if the boy likes the girl and knows the girl likes shopping, then he probably need to understand that in order for me to be close with this girl, probably I will take her shopping. So the seek to bond is actually the relationship. Is the day-to-day action of acceptance. To be able to enjoy the things that the other person enjoy. Is to be able to make that a part of our enjoyment. Because when you fake to like something, it's very easy to see. You can detect it hundred of miles away. They will be able to detect that you are just pretending to be with me. But you really need to enjoy it yourself. That is the seek to bond. And the last one is to celebrate. For every time they show they want to be with us, they show they want to do something that we think has something to do with the step toward relationship, we celebrate them. Not just on the big things, but also for the very, very small things that they do, even just looking at us. Thank you so much for looking at me. I love your eyes. You make me happy when you're looking at me. These are something that we can do and we can celebrate. On which our maybe I do not know of the people that being here today. Some of you probably have a child that does not even speak. When they say you say, oh, you are making sound. I love it. Thank you so much for the It's a music to my ear. Is it what you want to say? Is it Is it mama? Thank you for saying mama. It's mama, you know? So celebration can come in different form. Or when our child asks the question for 100 times, I think boy is taller than girls. And they repeat the same question again. Mama, why is the girl is taller than boy? And you are going to celebrate them. Thank you for asking. I know that you asked this many times, but I know that you are very curious about it. Celebrate them. So these three things, the acceptance, seek to bond, and celebration, are the things that we do to exercise our relationship muscle. So these are the three tips that help our kids make friends. First, total acceptance and unconditional love. Second, role modeling. And third, the right people whom they can trust. The right people whom they can trust is something that we role model to them. by us role modeling to them that a friend is a person who accepts them. A friend is someone who celebrate them, who enjoys who they are. Then they will find the people that equally good for them. There is someone that we want them to build relationship with. So again, sleep, hydration and nutrition, physical exercise, stress management, and relationship, they are the way to actually make our brain have less inflammation and the way to help our kids to have relationship.
Love is always the answer.
So this is my eldest son, and his is saying is what I think the basic of everything, love.